The first two things I'm going to be working on are going to be the side front and the mid front panels, and I've got two of those to deal with. The sewing, the pressing is done. I'm really happy with the way things have turned out. One of the things that I was struggling with consistently were the multiple seam allowances through this pattern. After a lot of reading, after a lot of placement on my own, and I'm sure some more impatience on behalf of the good people over at Black Wolf Costumes, I finally figured out how things were panning out with this. Now, I don't know if I can bring it into focus, but I will try. I'll use the left-hand side body panel and the mid-front body panel. And again, this is where I was having so much confusion about these different seam allowances for all of these panels. In this area here, on this side, this was 3/8 of a seam. This is 3/8 of an allowance. This is also 3/8 of an allowance. But yet, as I'm working with these from the patterns, it didn't make any sense to me. However, now that I have this laid out as I do, so that's the 3/8 is meeting the 3/8. The 5/8 on the mid front panel is meeting the 5/8 on that side of the bib panel. So again, all of these are now measuring up. They're all meeting the same. It's now making total sense to me. So if in the event that you are working on this and you've purchased this same pattern and maybe you get confused, or maybe I'm just a special case, that is how things are going along. Don't get too wrapped up in the different seam allowances that you'd be seeing throughout the patterns. And also, if we're going to take a step back, another seam allowance that was also on the pattern is this one over here. And this is 3/4 of an inch. So that's a 3/4 of an inch seam allowance, 3/4 of an inch seam allowance, and that line goes all the way across to the opposite side of the build. So again, not only do I have a 3/8 seam allowance, I've got a 5/8 seam allowance, and then all of a sudden a 3/4 inch seam allowance. And if that doesn't sound a little overwhelming as you're trying to cut things out, well, it was for me, and again, maybe it won't be for you, but that's why I'm making these videos, so that if you are making it, you're going to be able to follow along and hopefully not make the same mistakes I did. There we are, bib panel, main body panel, sewn 5/8 of an inch with a straight stitch. Moving on, that's the basic construction of the front panels. We have the shoulder, the front bibs, or pardon me, the front yokes. Those are quilted. We have the middle panel, the side panel. Then we have the quilted bibs here. We have those two little bottom panels. Again, I'm not using any sort of interfacing or interlining at all. So that's where this is going to be quite flimsy. I'm not going to be adding any of the piping, lacing, gold lame, or gold soutache that would definitely go on here, especially along here. That's where that would go. As I said, this is just my practice. I want to be able to get the stitching and the panels right before I get into the very fine details. Maybe at the end I might add some gold soutache going down here, just as fun. I don't know if I'm going to add any lame around here. Maybe, I don't know. But that's kind of where I'm at. After this, I'm now going to move on to the back panels.